December 2014. Karen Berkshire, 39, is shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend, Jody Lee Hunt. 2 other people are gunned down. Hunt then proceeds to kill himself. In the end, 1 weapon leaves 4 people dead. This could have been avoided if Hunt had been issued a thorough background check. A background check would have found he was convicted of abducting his girlfriend, a felony that should have stopped him from purchasing a gun. Instead, he was able to buy a gun on Facebook with no background check. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident.
We are the only advanced country on Earth that sees this kind of mass violence erupt with this kind of frequency.
We want to believe something like this could never happen, but we all know it could.
Every day, 100 people die due to gun violence. The rate of gun homicides in the US is 25 times that of other high-income countries. The US has more public mass shootings than any other country in the world. Americans own 46% of all civilian-owned guns globally. Currently in the US, 1 in 5 guns purchased are purchased without a background check. The US government needs to be enforcing mandatory background checks during the sale or transfer of any firearm. This would include sales at gun shows and private sales performed by unlicensed dealers, 2 major loopholes in gun purchasing.
So right now, the Brady background check bill was passed years ago, and that was before the internet. So at that time, the idea was everybody should have a quick background check, just like when you get a driver's license, right? Or you get a dog license for your dog. You know, this is a gun. It's designed to kill. And so a background check should be, what needs to be expanded are these Brady background checks. So right now, 40% of guns are sold online or through a gun show, and they're exempt from a background check. That's like being at an airport and there's 2 lines, right? One of them says, we're gonna check your bag and go, you're gonna go through security, and the other line says, oh, just go right in. So we have that's a very large loophole. So we would like a background check on every gun sold in America. It doesn't matter how it's sold. That bill has been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk for over 200 days. So if you do the math, 100 Americans are shot and killed every day. That's 20,000 Americans. And 40% of those guns, again, sold without a background check.
Currently, on a federal level, the US requires licensed gun dealers to perform background checks on any person looking to purchase a gun, as well as maintain records of all transactions. These records must be made available for use in federal investigations. Lost or stolen firearms should also be reported. The Gun Control Act of 1968 made it illegal for people engaged in the business of selling firearms without a license. This language is important as it did not mention people who occasionally sell or trade guns. This opens a large loophole for people looking to buy a gun without getting a background check first. Firearms can easily be passed from friend to friend or to family member and then into the wrong hands.
It is highly preventable. It's everything from important storage. It's California law that if there's a gun in the home, it needs to be properly locked up and stored. There's things like ERPOs, or gun violence restraining orders, where we can, in California, if we believe someone's a danger to themselves or others, we can use our voices and tell law enforcement, elevate that, and they can take the guns away. So there's a lot of things that we can do. Of course, we need stronger legislation, but in the meantime, there's a lot. We're lucky in California that we are one of the safest states in the country.
On a state level, the amount of regulations on purchasing a firearm vary from state to state. There are only 12 states that currently require background checks during any sale of a firearm, whether from an unlicensed dealer or a licensed dealer. These states include California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, as well as 3 more, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Illinois, that require not only a background check, but also a permit for any person looking to buy a firearm. 2 more states, Maryland and Pennsylvania, only require background checks when purchasing handguns, but not rifles or shotguns. The remaining states do not require background checks. The states that require background checks are already experiencing positive results. Since Connecticut passed mandatory background checks in 2013, the firearm homicide rate dropped by 20%, and there was a 15% reduction in firearm suicide rate. In contrast, Missouri repealed their permit to purchase handgun law in 2007, and they've had an increase in firearm homicide rates and firearm suicide rates. 85% of Americans, Democrats and Republicans, are in favor of universal background checks, yet no legislation has been passed. Speculation has been made that laws that would implement universal background checks have not been passed due to immense influence of the National Rifle Association over Congress members.
Follow the money. When things don't make sense, there's a lot of money involved. And unfortunately, gun manufacturers and ammo manufacturers, they do have money.
The NRA spent $1.6 million during the first half of the year lobbying Congress to block any pro-background check legislation. The NRA has their reasons for opposing background checks. Here are some opinions that they and the American public hold.
There's a bigger force here with most Americans that realize this is within the Second Amendment, and it keeps us all safe.
It's time for a change. We are too far into the future to continue to allow guns to get into the wrong hands. Universal background checks need to be enforced on a federal level. It will help ensure the safety of the American public and reduce the amount of violent firearm crime. Americans deserve to live in a place where they can know the government has their best interests in mind and are willing to make changes in order to ensure a better tomorrow.